I think Japanese people are extremely polite, but not friendly. And Chinese people, they're extremely friendly, but sometimes not polite. I heard someone say once that if you want to be left alone, move to Tokyo. If you want to make friends, come to Kansai.
Oskare, I'm Kaja-Kyoto. Recently, I interviewed American guy who lived in Japan for 3 years and in China more than 10 years. So today I'm going to ask him what is the biggest difference between Japan and China. Both Japan and China are homogeneous countries. There are a lot of similarities and differences even though they are Asian countries. So what's the difference and what's it like living in Japan and China? So let's find out. I interview a lot of foreigners and Japanese people in Kyoto. So when you come to Kyoto, please hit me up and let me interview you. Aside from YouTube, I have an Instagram and TikTok. So if you're interested in, please check them out too. Okay, let's shoot it. Where from and what brought you to Japan?
I'm from Tennessee in the United States of America. And I came to Japan, strangely enough, because of coronavirus. Because I was in China and the coronavirus was a really big problem there. But the closest country to come was Japan. And I have a good friend that lives here. So I came to Japan kind of not on purpose, but I'm happy to be here.
What's it like being in Japan as a foreigner?
I think because I became a language student to learn Japanese, so for me, it was really great because I just had really good friends being my classmates. But I noticed it's really hard to meet Japanese people to be friends. So I think as a foreigner, sometimes you can feel lonely if you don't know how to speak Japanese or if you don't know how to make friends, because learning how to make friends is also a part of learning the culture. So for me, at first it was lonely, but slowly you learn how to make friends and what to do, and yeah, but I really, really enjoyed living here.
So you've lived in Japan for,
Like a little less than 3 years, almost 3 years.
and then how many in China?
I moved to China in 2009 for university, and I stayed until 2020. So almost like 15 years, and I just moved back there.
Alright, so what is the biggest difference between Chinese and Japanese?
People?
Let's say people.
Okay. Ooh, this might be a little bit of a hot take,
Okay.
but I think Japanese people are extremely polite, but not friendly. And Chinese people, they're extremely friendly, but sometimes not polite. Yeah, I would say that.
So did you actually experience that?
I mean, in China for sure. You go to a restaurant and you sit down and the boss says, "What do you want?" You're like, "Ah." But then they'll talk to you, and the whole time they'll talk to you. Someone will come in, they'll talk to you, and they'll be really friendly. But in Japan, everyone just kind of lets everyone have their own space. They're like, "Oh, irashaimase, oh hi, oh dozo, oh hi, oh hi," but they're never saying, "Oh, kyo wa genki desu ka?" Like they don't actually care to ask you a question, and even if they care, they won't because they think it might be rude to be personal. But in China, it's the opposite. It's friendly to be in your face, Yeah, so I think that's the biggest difference I noticed at first.
Yeah. So is it easier to interact with Chinese people more than Japanese?
I would say yes. And also, Chinese people's English is a little bit better than Japanese
really?
people, yeah.
I've heard that Chinese people rarely speak English.
The young people, their English is way better than Japanese people.
Oh,
yeah.
that's-
Yeah. And I think also Japanese people are so shy and afraid. So I think Chinese people, they're not as shy. They're more courageous. Also, there's more people. So you meet a lot of more people faster.
So did you experience some discrimination there in China, in Japan? Yeah.
I think, yeah, of course, but I had to learn what discrimination means in each country because discrimination in America looks different than discrimination in Japan and China. Also, because China and Japan, they have something similar. They only have Chinese people and only have Japanese people. Even though there's foreigners, it's not mixed really. And so a lot of things that I do maybe are rude to certain people, and maybe people look at me like, "Oh, you're eating on the train," And I wasn't eating on the train. Someone took a picture of me, and I was like, "Oh, should I not eat on the train?" Actually, today there was an old man eating a sausage with a beer, and I saw a lady go, And so I think that's not discriminatory necessarily, but it is something that I feel like, oh no, I'm being judged for something I didn't realize was bad. But if I'm really hungry, I'm like, oh, I have to wait an hour before I get off the train to eat. It's like that, I think. But being discriminated against because of my race or anything, I have not experienced that in Japan. In China, I would say I have been made fun of for being really white, like my skin being really white. But I think it only happens sometimes, not often. It's not like I'm a problem, but they're just shocked that my skin is so white. and they are not white. So I think, but it made me feel a little bad. They're like, "Oh, you're so white," and I was like, "Oh, is that a bad thing?" Because they were laughing at me, and I was like, "Oh, I've never been laughed at before for my, my color." So that was an interesting experience. Yeah.
I've heard that in Japan or like China, sometimes white people feel privileged to be white. Do you feel that way
In Japan?
in both countries?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would say I don't personally feel privileged. There is something I noticed though. If I go to the konbini, there's an Indian person or a Vietnamese person who's working there. If they see me, they always get really excited. I guess maybe in their country they don't see people like me a lot. And so to me that was a little bit, I was like, oh, maybe do I know them? Maybe I'm like, who, because some of the math, who are you? But they just excited. I would say Japanese people, they don't really get excited when they see me. But I would say finding a job, being from America, speaking English and being white, it's easier for me to find a job at certain places. If I was like American Chinese, it would be hard for me to find maybe an English teaching job in China. I don't know about Japan, but yeah, there are privileges that you can experience, but I don't know. I would say Japan is pretty fair in my experience, but in China, 100% I have privileges, but it's not because I'm white, it's because I'm a foreigner. People are just not used to seeing people like me, especially because I can speak Chinese. Sometimes I feel like when I go to the zoo in China, I feel like I'm the lion and everyone else is like, I'm in the zoo, because people will take pictures of me and they look at me and they'll talk to me and I feel like I'm the animal, and so like I get a lot of attention. So if I like attention, then it's good, right? But if I don't like attention, then it's kind of bad. So, but looking for a job in China, 100%. If you're white and you can speak English, or even if you don't speak English but you're white, you can get an English teaching job. Like I have Russian friends who are English teachers, but their English isn't great. But because they look white, they can say, I'm from Canada, but they're not. Yeah.
But in Japan, that right, you are not like taking pictures
Not
by
really.
local people.
Only with little kids sometimes. They're excited. Like on the train, maybe there'll be like kids with no parents, and sometimes they'll be like, hello, and I'll be like, oh, hello, and they're like, like they'll talk to me and they're excited, but I think that's just fun. I think Japanese people are really, really good at pretending not to look at you while they're looking at you, because they're like, or they go like, stuff like that. I learn a lot of the tricks here. But in China, they're more, like, I'm like, ah. Yeah, not everyone, but it happens. It does happen, yeah. And also, it depends on what city you go to, I think in Japan, if you go to a city with no foreigners, like I have a friend who lives in Sanda, in Hyogo, and I went to their city, like a small city in Sanda area. People didn't look at me strange, but I noticed people were like, oh, they would be like, oh, he's new, he doesn't live here, but it was just curiosity, I try not to mistake being looked at with a bad intention, but just, oh, look, someone different, because I'm much taller and I, look different, so.
2 more questions.
Sure.
What are pros and cons of living in Japan?
I mean, as you can see, it's very beautiful. It's very clean. I think people have amazing fashion. I learn a lot about how I should dress or how I could dress. When you live overseas in a big city, something like Kyoto, Osaka, Tokyo, you meet a lot of different people as well, like a lot of foreigners too. You can learn a lot about different people and practice different languages. And so that's fun because Japan is a very international place. And so I really like that about Japan. For the cons, I would say it can be lonely in Japan. Yeah, just because it's hard to meet people and have friends that want to hang out with you a lot. And I think not being from Japan, I don't know how it works and how relationships work sometimes. So a lot of my friends in Japan, for instance, are from Taiwan or China because they're just always willing to hang out and have fun, So I would say, yeah, the biggest con is definitely loneliness in Japan. I heard someone say once that if you want to be left alone, move to Tokyo. If you want to make friends, come to Kansai. So I think it's interesting to think about, the biggest city in Japan is the place where people feel the most alone, It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So the last 3, what advice would you give to people who want to come to Japan?
I would just say buy a ticket. Come. Because I've seen a lot of different interviews of people coming to Japan and making plans, and have a plan, don't have a plan, just come. If you want to come, just do it. Japan will not disappoint you. Japanese people are so helpful. Even people that don't speak English will be like, excuse me, you need help? And they'll try to help you. And so don't be afraid of not understanding things because that's a part of travel, Getting lost is an adventure. And so just book the ticket, come to Japan, just do it. Don't be afraid, just do it.
Where would you recommend for them to go?
I would say Osaka. Osaka, yeah, maybe fly to like the Kansai airport, Osaka, because Osaka is by Kyoto, it's by Nara, it's by Kobe, and you have all of these cities, like four major cities, all there. If you go to Tokyo, you have to travel a long time to go to anywhere. In Osaka, if you just stay in Osaka, I came from Hyogo today, so you just take one train and you're here. So I think that's what I would suggest. Come to Kansai because Kansai is Osaka, it's Kobe, it's Kyoto, it's Nara. You can do a lot of things in 1 week. You can go to like 5 cities if you want.
Thank you for watching so far. He said Japanese people are really polite and not friendly, and Chinese people are really friendly but sometimes rude. Do you agree with his opinion? Please leave the comment. So if you like this video, please click like and subscribe my channel. See you in the next video. Stay tuned in my channel.